pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday.
An important topic, an area that even we need to focus on, or should we look for survival, right? And that's another question. The third question is, does sustainability and economics go together, or they go against each other? For these are questions that we all have in mind, and we would like to explore perspectives, various perspectives across our panelists today. I just want to share one point of view in terms of, should we look at sustainability right now? I just want to draw an analogy that 6 years back, 3 to 5 years back, a lot of people felt going online is not something that I really want to do. This is not a necessity, right? And most of my business is happening offline. Today, we all know where the world is. Its world has gone digital. Now, it's a question of doing something today, which will actually create a path for the future. If you really want to play a futuristic game, not only just play your business game and also make a planet which is sustainable, this is a perfect time for us to all be listening to various perspectives coming across the panel today. With that brief introduction, I would like each one of our panelists to introduce themselves, maybe starting with Swaminathan.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. I'm Swami. I'm Chief Supply Chains Officer for Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail. I have been in the organization for the last 27 years. I joined this company as a management trainee. I've been in various roles in manufacturing, sourcing, head of categories, head of business, export business, before I moved into this role. I've been spearheading the digital transformation in supply chain for this organization, and also, in fact, setting up best-in-class manufacturing plants and warehouses for this company. I enjoyed every bit of my journey, and it's a very interesting topic, and happy to be here with all of you to discuss on sustainability.
Yeah, thanks, Swami, for making it, and really welcome to this panel. I'm sure all the people who have joined us today, who are watching us both here and also in YouTube, are going to have immense benefit from your point of view. And over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you, Ganesh. Hi, everyone. I'm Priyanka. I lead expansion for Fashion for Good. Recently launched our South Asia program in India, based out of India, but covering South and now Southeast Asia. To everyone who doesn't know Fashion for Good, because it's definitely not household name just yet, Fashion for Good is an innovation platform based out of the Netherlands. And what we actually do is bring together industry as well as innovations and help scale these innovations to actually create sustainable transformation in the industry. We work with some of the largest brands in the world, as well as now manufacturers, some of the most fantastic manufacturers based out of India as well. And the goal is really to find disruptive innovations just like Stylumia and help them scale with the industry.
Thanks, Priyanka. And it's early morning in Europe, and really appreciate your participation and in spite of your busy schedule. Thanks, Priyanka. Over to you, Nitin.
Hi, thanks, Ganesh. I'm Nitin. I'm the CEO of Design and Innovation at Arvind. I'm from a design background, but I'm extremely passionate about sustainability and how we as design people can play a role in creating a circular economy.
Wonderful, Nitin. And, we have seen you going from export to, global markets to somebody who's personally believes in sustainability, and a lot to hear from you as we go along. Right. And before I move to Nishi-san and a quick check on technology so that we are not talking to ourselves, just want the audience to confirm quickly. If you are able to see us and also hear our voice, can you please type yes on the chat box? If you are able to hear us, awesome, great. Let's move to Nishi-san. And before I introduce Nishi-san, I would like to share my experience. I was in Japan just a few months back, and I had an opportunity to visit Shima Seiki's plant in Osaka. And I must tell you the kind of experience I saw that, they said it's a missionary manufacturing plant. I went into the plant and I could not spot even a small dust, right? Leave alone. It looks like, missionary manufacturing company. Amazing. Hats off to, how an organization can be run, the ethos of them, the heritage of them, and also their mission of making this planet zero waste. It's amazing. And also the philosophy behind Shima Seiki. I would like Nishi-san to quickly introduce himself.
So, hello, Mr. Ganesh and everybody. So, my name is Nishiki of Shima Seiki. Please remember, Nishi is okay. So, I have explored all of India, south to north, east to west, all of India since joining Team India. So, let me introduce what is Shima Seiki shortly. Is okay? So, Shima Seiki has been highly regarded as a top manufacturer of computerized flat knitting machine and design system, including glove knitting machine and cutting machine since 1962. We have got over 4,500 patents on the past 5 years with the constant development capabilities of our employees. Shima Seiki has business with over 80 countries in the world with support customers. Shima Seiki will never start a business even if there is an inquiry, if the service system is not set up. Now, Shima Seiki offer our products not only apparel, but also sports, healthcare, shoes, and accessory, home furnishing, automotive market. That's all. Thank you.
Wonderful, Nishi-san. Thank you for that introduction and almost taking us to, the world of Shima Seiki. Let me, before I start the question to the panelists, a request for all people who are attending. In case, as we are talking, if you have any questions, there is a Q&A chat box. Please do not use the normal chat, use the Q&A chat so that we are able to see all your questions. And we will try to answer those questions towards the end of the session, if that's fine with you. So let's go ahead, let me start with Priyanka. What do you think is the role of innovation is embedding sustainability in the fashion industry?
Innovation, well, just as you mentioned in your intro, which is fashion industry has been so challenging over the last few years. The business model hasn't changed over decades, if not centuries. And now we realize how polluting, how damaging it is to the world, particularly from an environmental perspective, but also on the social perspective. And we know that at this point of time, the world is questioning the business model of this industry, starting from the way products are produced and the materials that are used to the amount of wastage that's created throughout the process, as well as towards the end of use. So to actually counter each of these and to embed sustainability, you kind of need to rethink the model of the industry, the entire business model. It's sadly not a small industry, it's a huge industry, and there can't be just one solution for it. Each part of the industry or each supply chain step pretty much needs a change or a reinvention. And that reinvention we observe mainly comes through innovation. not just in fashion industry, but in every industry. So innovations on what are the newer kind of materials that can use, because clearly the current existing materials are not sustainable enough and will not long last us or should not be continued with in the future. So what are the new materials, natural or synthetic? There can be technologies, hard technologies and soft technologies around that. What are the newer forms of dyeing? We know how much water is impacted in the dyeing processes currently in the fashion industry. I assume everyone here on the fashion panel also comes with a little bit of background on this. So I won't dig deeper into that here. But throughout each of these supply chain steps, all innovation is the key to actually change each of these supply chain steps right now and to drive circularity, not just in the industry as a whole, but look at each supply chain step as an individual industry and embed innovation to drive that circularity. So that's kind of where we feel to create a circular regenerative system, innovation has to be the key for the industry.
Yes, Priyanka, I think therefore the point takeaway there is, one needs to reinvent, question everything that we are doing from across material to process to the entire supply chain and the ecosystem, right? Wonderful. I think we'll definitely want to know more and we'll come back to you very soon. And over to you, Swami. I think everybody looks at in the country, what's Aditya Birla going to do in various forms, right? Whenever people look up to the organization, you all have been at the forefront of innovation. So the question to you is, and will be very, very relevant in these days, what will be the response of companies post-COVID with respect to sustainability?
In my opinion, Ganesh, as you were saying, the COVID really threw up a real challenge, and the companies who have not been in the digital journey have been left out of, probably will be left out in the future. If we don't catch up to this, those who didn't catch up to the digital will be left out. Similarly, those who are not taking up sustainability as an option, they would be left out in the future. Why I say so, actually, what happened in COVID, we had a huge, each industry is having huge shocks in terms of their business cycle. The kind of cycles that the earth can throw on us is probably unimaginable. And the crisis what we are facing now is probably not the last crisis we'll be facing in our lives. And probably we may not face it, some of our next generations will definitely face it. So I think sustainability, we need to adopt sustainability to survive and not look at as a marketing communication, as a way of just looking good, I would say. I would urge organizations to adopt this as a way of future.
Yeah, Swami, I think that's very powerful, right? Sustainability for survival rather than sustainability for, a showcase, right? And maybe it'll be great if you can share one or two examples of areas that you're all working on.
In fact, we have been leading in the sustainability journey. When I say we are leading, I think we have to recognize this is a long journey. It's not a short journey. It's not about from where we are and where we have to reach. It's a pretty long journey, and we pride ourselves in being leading that path. In fact, we've created our motto. In fact, is to give back more than what we take from the ecosystem. We call it the Re-Earth, and this program, which we have been running it for the last 8 years, has been driving our journey in terms of progressing towards it. For example, we have been driving renewable source utilization in our manufacturing operations. We have been reducing the electrical power consumption. We have been driving reduction in packaging. A lot of material we use and which can be reused. So we have been driving that. In fact, we have been able to achieve substantial reduction in these areas. We are driving the vendor ecosystem. This journey is not possible to succeed without driving the ecosystem. So we work with all our partners in terms of assess them and set targets and where we need to reach. We recognize this is a long journey. That is the most important part, and we take them in the journey, take them along in the journey. And the other aspects, I think we are moving in terms of the next zone is in terms of product adoption, which are more sustainable products. And more importantly, which I think we, as Priyanka also alluded to it, we should all look at our business model. I think a large answer lies in our business model.
Got it. Yeah. So, Swami, I think thanks for sharing that. I think the key point there is it's a long-term game. And I think it will be eye-opener for a lot of people that you started this journey 8 years back, right? And I think those who have not started, it's better late than never. I think today can be that day. Thanks for that. And let's move on to Nitin. Nitin, having known you for a while, you somebody who personally believes in that. How you got connected to sustainability personally?
Okay. Thanks, Ganesh. So essentially, I think that as people who've been in the product development and design fraternity, I think that being and working with material has been something that is basically the building blocks of what we do. And being in a manufacturing country and worked in both manufacturing and global sourcing, you actually come face to face and see closely how much wastage occurs in the entire product life cycle. But I think the turning point for me was watching this documentary in 2015, which is called The True Cost, where the documentary spoke about the journey of a t-shirt and how what is the real cost of that $5 t-shirt. And added to that, I read this very interesting quote by somebody who said that fast fashion is cheap, but somebody is definitely paying the price for that speed and for that price. So I think that these were a couple of things that really hit me hard, but more, I think it amplified even more once I had my own kids and I got involved in studying sustainability and looking at how different models exist, whether it's cradle to cradle or working on a circular economy or renewable, reusable economy, to the gig economy, to the expectation economy. There are just so many models that exist that are looking at a more sustainable lifestyle and more so of product life cycle and use. So I feel that it hit me more personally because I feel that it is so much more important for us to be able to conserve resources, use as much as we need, and leave the rest for the future generation. My grandfather once told me that the resources that are available to the world, we are just caretakers, we're not owners. We are caretakers for the future generation. And I feel that that is a role all of us have to play. We have to take this quite seriously if we want to make sure that our Earth survives and our future generations thrive.
Awesome, Nitin. I think that reminds me of the Lagom philosophy from Sweden, where you do everything in the right amount, right? And absolutely, I think we just need to taking things very personally, because if you don't believe in this, we don't actually take action, right?
Absolutely. And I think that we are consuming a lot more than we need. The entire economies of the world, which focus more on GDP and based on capitalism, focus on higher consumption more than social equity and social development. And I think that switch in focus that's happening in certain parts of the world, and there is a lot more growing awareness even within the consumer level, I think is playing a big role in how companies are having to react to sustainability. Earlier, there was a choice. Now it's a question of who gets there faster and makes sure that they're making tangible differences at the ground level.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more. And we move over to Nishi-san. Nishi-san, I know that you're super prepared. You come with a prepared text, right? And I really appreciate, please go ahead and tell us what's the philosophy of Shima Seiki. I'm very touched by that when I came there.
Okay, thank you very much. So it is our president, Mr. Mitsuhiro Shima's message to everybody, founded on the development of the world's first fully automated glove knitting machine. We at Shima Seiki Manufacturing Limited have continuously challenged ourselves to develop innovative technology under our corporate motto, ever onward, limitless progress. Today, almost 60 years after its establishment, Shima Seiki is highly regarded as a top manufacturer of computerized flat knitting machine and design system, including glove knitting machine and cutting machine with the support of our customers. Based on the corporate philosophy of ever onward, limitless progress, Shima Seiki is focusing on developing and providing attractive products and services that anticipate users' need by demonstrating creativity. So we will make effort to improve product quality and customer satisfaction based on the Shima Seiki spirit of developing products with the most advanced technologies and offering them at the most reasonable price. For this reason, all employees under the president always keep the 10 product development concepts in mind, actively addressing the planned and efficient operation of quality management system and the continuous improvement of its effectiveness. So let me introduce what is 10 product development concepts. One is planning and proposal. Two, appealing products. Three, woven-like knitwear. 4, high sensitivity, high sense. 5, small lot, multiple variety. 6, quick response. 7, market driven. 8, high efficiency. 9, information oriented. I can say multimedia. So last one, 10, is consistency and diversity. So please let me explain this concept again. So first, market in concept is essential rather than product out concept in order to create added value by responding to the market demand. I think, so personally, I think currently how add the value to the garment is so important. In order to perfectly pursue the marketing concept, the planning and proposal that capture the needs of consumers and show them in a concrete manner is important. What the market wants is appealing products that has never existed before. But to make the product attractive to consumers, it is necessary to be small lot, multiple variety, and high sensitivity and high sense. In particular, in the case of knitwear, it is important to incorporate the woven-like knitwear so that it can be evaluated as a high value added product. In addition, in order to achieve a proper cost, we will take effort for high efficiency, consistency, and diversity, and realizing quick response to deliver products to consumers as quick as possible. It is important to information oriented, I can say multimedia, that propose this planning information to consumer as sales information. Now, with development our whole garment and Apex system. Let me explain to Apex system. Apex system is our center of system. This one is a knitting program, design software, and the PGM software. So we have been able to embody these concepts to the market. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nishi-san. I think that's an elaborate one, but I just want to pick one of your philosophy and principles. It's called market in, not product out. Now,
Yeah.
I think that's a huge lesson for the fashion industry, which means that can you give what customer wants in close to real time? And that's what you all do. I was amazed to see, you can make a dress in 2.5 hours. Imagine you can keep this in a mall, their machine, and from yarn to dress in 2.5 hours, right? That's amazing. I think we would like to learn more, Nishi-san, as we move on. And, I'll move on to the next question to Priyanka. Priyanka, now how do you bring the fashion brands and ecosystem all together and in a collaboration mode and, make the ecosystem conducive for all sustainable transformations?
Food is built on two key pillars, which is collaboration and innovation. On the collaboration end, for the last 3.5 years, we've been engaging with some of the largest brands, and now in the last year, we've been engaging with a lot of manufacturers as well. The idea is for us to be, the analogy that I really like using is the 3 legs of the stool. So we have the brands on one end, the manufacturers, which is the supply chain partners of these brands on the other end, and then innovation, which forms these technologies, sometimes in forms of startups or from research labs and institutions. And Fashion for Good kind of sits in the center. And our role is actually to facilitate communication between these 3 areas or these 3 key stakeholders. There are, of course, many more stakeholders and other like-minded organizations who also create learning as well as impact policy. But this is the core part of what we do. And the brands and the manufacturers, particularly industry stakeholders, are the ones that we've selected them on the basis of their goals on sustainability. Is sustainability in their DNA? Is this something that they really want to achieve, and will be proactive in actually adopting this? And once they come on board, we identify the right innovations that work for them, that can be scaled up in the industry. We do a lot of due diligence on these innovations. We try to map a route to scale or a path to scale for each of these with our partners. And that connection is made via various pilot projects that we do, sometimes just individual one-on-one testing, sometimes larger pilot projects. But our ideology is to create widespread adoption of newer technologies. We will have to go through these smaller test prototyping stage and then piloting stage, and then look at a final adoption. But the manufacturer and brands really do consider our opinion or the shortlist that we've put together, because we help them, we kind of educate them on what the technology landscape is, what are the areas of innovation that actually impact or have a high impact on the supply chain and can help them drive sustainability or based on whatever their goals are. So that's kind of the way they come into the program, as well as buy into this idea of testing newer technologies.
Yeah. Thanks, Priyanka, for sharing how Fashion for Good ecosystem works and what all you do, bringing all parties together. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching today would be looking at, how do I reach out to Fashion for Good? How do I reach out to any one of you? What we have done is we have actually made a form. I'm asking Hema to just share that document form, Google form here. Anybody who wants to reach out to any of the panelists, please send that form and we will connect you with the concerned. And I'm sure all of us are also on the social media. Thanks for that, Priyanka. Let's move on with Swami on looking at how should organizations be more responsible to their supply chain partners, and also what do you mean by that, and how do you see that in execution?
Yeah, it's a very very serious questions in terms of how we need to operate in the future. In fact, we have seen how organizations have tried to respond or forced to respond. I wouldn't blame most of us in this journey know that cash is very important. In this cycle situation like this, cash is very important. And the way we react to, we all attempt to conserve cash to be able to bounce back when the market comes back. In the process, we impact a lot of partners over us. We are forced to delay orders, we are forced to cancel, we are forced to do a lot of things, which I would say is a imperative to survive. But imagine if this is happening, because in my opinion, the fashion industry is operating on a business model which is probably unsustainable. And because of which there is a huge pipeline of inventory which gets built, and any impact in the whole supply chain has a huge ripple effect to the partners. I think as organizations, we need to review our business model in terms of how we can respond, as Nishi-san said, much closer to market in terms of what market wants, much closer in time than in operating in a cycle which is 6 to 9 months in terms of mind to market, which is far too long and far too slow and far too unsustainable, if I can say so. And the moment any business impact is there, all the vendor partners are impacted. What I would, in terms of organizations, need to work with in terms of partners, give visibility in terms of our plans, long-term plans, take them along in the journey, not treat them as a entity where we will buy and forget, and instead work with them in the long-term journey so that they can invest in practices which are right, and they can reap the benefits of it over a period of time. And that is very important to be work with as much as possible with dedicated partners to be able to sustain this journey.
Yeah, thanks, Swami. I think being compassionate in these times with the ecosystem, and also sharing with them what are your plans, it's absolutely key message coming across. Over to you, Nitin. I think a lot of sustainability starts with design, right? And I think you've worked so much here, and if you can share quickly, how do we design sustainably?
That's a great question, Ganesh. I think that one of the most important aspect of the entire product life cycle is the stage of concept making. And I think so far in several years of focus of sustainability, there has been a lot more focus on manufacturing processes, or looking at it at the consumer level, at the retail level, how do they create more sustainable practices. But I think that one of the earliest parts where intervention will help and will create a disruption is the creation of the product. And I feel that if we start focusing more on not just what are the new sustainable materials that can be used to create product, but also design wisely. Fast fashion can still exist within the realm of sustainability. It just means that we design right, we design enough, we don't produce more than that is necessary. And in the process of design, it is important to make sure that details in the garments help them survive longer, so that you don't have to buy as much as you need to. It is said that in Europe, about 30 kgs of garments is bought by every individual a year, and 1 in 3 garments are never worn by the person at all in its entire life cycle, and they go to a landfill. That's a huge number. If you were to quantify that, that is close to about $40 billion worth of clothing that actually just goes wasted, which has not been worn. How do we redirect that from a landfill to the seconds market, to thrift stores? So there are multiple interventions that are possible, but I strongly believe that sustainable design is very important. We have to train designers to look at creating products with materials that will last longer, create product that will last longer, use anything, work into the details of dyes, for example. We all love a white shirt, we all love a black shirt or a black dress. How do we ensure that the black remains black longer so that we don't have to replace it with a new product? So it is important to look at those interventions and start designing better. We strongly believe at Arvind that sustainability starts at the innovation level. That is what we try to do. We are actually working with the Shima Seiki whole garment machine as well. We in fact have 3 machines at Arvind. I'm working closely with the team that is developing product on that. And there are similar such technology interventions that can be brought in at product developmental stage to ensure that the product that you design is just enough. You don't make an entire collection of styles that will go and sit in a bin somewhere at a buyer or a client's office and won't be looked again, and they'll be discarded at the end of the season.
Great, Nathan, and I'm sure that it's all about creation and being concerned at that stage, and also using all the technology and solutions today available, right?
Yes.
And I think we will come to that. Just for all the panelists, we've already got 6 or 7 questions from the audience, and if you can, speed up our so that we can focus on the audience questions and spend more time on that. Nishi-san, I'll come to you with, I will combine 2 questions for you together. Is one, you have 2 solutions. One is whole garment, and you also have a design software called Apex. So if you can just tell to all the people who are listening, what are the benefits of your solutions, and who are your customers now today, and how are they benefiting? If you can just address that crisply.
Okay. So the concept of Shima Seiki has been put together in whole garment that we have been proposing for 25 years. In addition, it is our system Apex 2. Whole garment reduce material loss and linking process. So, whole garment can make one garment by 1 yarn only, no material loss. Okay, so it means one of, I think, sustainability, also quick production, because no cut and sew, no linking also. So quick production means how to catch consumers' demand quickly. Whole garment can provide consumers with new silhouette and functionality from seamless. Because seamless is stretching so wide, we can say it is like a second skin. So Apex system can reduce a large amount of sample creation and waste loss that are created in the planning, production, and sales stage. This is a system that can produce more realistic virtual sample in a short time. Up to now, it can minimize the environment where you had to purchase materials with specified colors, make actual samples. For example, first sample, second sample, size sample, confirmation sample, exhibition sample, and then send to their buyer and have to take confirmation. There is a part of our, we call total fashion system, recommended by Shima Seiki. And it is our big concept to minimize unreasonable waste and make everyone in the industry happy. We would like to convey that from the time the company was established, Mr. Masahiro Shima, he's our founder. His idea is that Shima Seiki is not just a company that sells our products. We would like to think about how we can work together with our customers and partners in this difficult world. In the near future, the environment for the working in the fashion business will change drastically. And I think that simply buying and selling goods between companies is not enough. I don't think we can survive this heavy sea without building a digital supply chain between like-minded companies. We believe that government and apex are essential for realizing that. So, Ganesh-san, can I change to number 3 question?
Yeah, please go ahead and share who are your customers. I think everybody would like to know what kind of international brands are using your technology.
So please check our website, www.shimaseiki.com. You can see our customers' name there. For example, Fast Retailing, Uniqlo, North Face, Brooks Brothers, New Balance, Jones Medley, Japanese shoe and sports apparel, ASICS, and Ministry of Supply. Of course, we have a lot of customers all over the world. I didn't talk to all the customers directly, but I think they agree the concept of our company that I talked earlier. Them using whole garment to bring something new product to the market. I think that is silhouette or pursuit of functionality. But again, I think it's because it was a new product that never existed on the market. And I think that it can be appealed as a very, very sustainable product.
Yeah, thanks, Nishi-san. And we have just 15 minutes. Therefore, what we will do is we'll move on to question and answer session from the audience. We'll start with Vishal Behel's question. What's the panel's view on greenwashing by global fashion industry, and how can the rating and rankings for standardization of sustainability index? Recently, Higgs Index has given a thumbs up to polyester and thumbs down to silk. Anybody who would like to take this question from the panel? Is the question clear? Priyanka, would you like to take this on?
Sure. I mean, we can't deny that there has been greenwashing in the past, but I think one of the challenges why this comes up again and again is that there are no fixed standards yet, because this is a constantly innovating area. It's constantly developing. A lot of things that we believed were true 10 years back are not true now. And as we learn, these standards are developing, including standards like Higgs Index. There is a landscape of individual standards that exist. There are about 50 or 60 now, which capture one or two different aspects. The challenge is there's no one standard for the entire industry or the entire world. Countries have different standards, materials have different standards, and lots of different things exist. And I don't see this changing very quickly because the industry is evolving. And with every industry evolving, usually standardization also changes as we learn more about it. So there is no direct answer or a solution to this currently. But what I would recommend is, as a consumer, particularly if you're asking from a consumer perspective, ask questions, read the labels, ask the questions. If there are certain standards that are mentioned, go online, all of the details are mentioned of these standards. So you're able to understand and learn more and be a more aware consumer. But it's not necessary that everything will long 3 years later or even 10 years later. These things could change very quickly. So this is reality in the industry, I would say.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. I think it's we all need to contribute, and I'm sure all the ecosystem and standards will come through as we go along. Let's me go to the next question. What are the examples of some metrics that help track impact of sustainability adoption transparently? How do we know whether a company is adopting and how much that is? Anybody would like to go? Swami, Priyanka, or Nitin, any one of you?
I'm happy to.
Let me have a go at it. Yeah, yeah. Actually, there are a lot of when you measure internally. I don't know whether it's about verifiable in terms of external world. When you inside an organization, a lot of verifiable measures are there in how we are progressing in this journey. The extent of renewable energy you use, the extent of consumption you reduce in terms of material and energy, we call, and the extent of packaging material you recycle, the amount of sustainable products you can measure, the number of products we tag each of our products in terms of whether it does it have a sustainable criteria, how much of our products actually have a sustainable criteria. Then we talked about the Higgs Index. We have been we have been one of the first organizations to have evaluate our plans and brands on the Higgs Index and our key suppliers. So there are a lot of this is a long journey. It is if you want to capture it in a number, I think we will be doing injustice to the journey which we have to go through. But there are a lot of internal measures which are available on how we are progressing, and we keep track of all of them continuously.
Thanks, Swami. I think definitely, maybe just I want to add something to the audience. Sustainable Apparel Coalition, SAC, is available. It's a public domain. You all can log in there, and Hema, you can actually text the URL. And in fact, Higgs Index is available to everybody. How do you measure it? What is the Higgs Index for various processes across the supply chain? I think it'll be great for you to access that. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to panelists. So I would like to go to the next question from Ranjit Kumar. Is this possible to invent the sustainability system in small scale industry? Right? As a business point of view, when we are trying to invest some sustainable product, it will be impact our final product with certain upcharges. Hence, how can we control the cost when we are implementing sustainable products? I think it's an important question. Does sustainability cost always? Right? And, anybody would like to go? Please raise your hand so that we know who's going for it. Super. Go ahead, Swami.
Yeah, Priyanka, please go ahead.
I'm going to give a quick answer, and maybe you can add on to that. At the beginning of any newer technologies, everything in sustainability right now is new technology. At the beginning, usually all technologies are expensive. And that cost obviously adds on, goes to the consumer, that goes to the customer, then the consumer finally. But as more and more people adopt these technologies, the economies of scale kick in and the cost goes down. So for a lot of current technologies that are out there, which create sustainability, they are at an early stage of adoption, where not enough players have adopted to get the costs down. And I think that's why there is this challenge or I want to say a myth in the industry that everything sustainability is expensive. In the longer run, we don't see that happening at all. But yes, in the current run at the adoption stage, yes, early stage when you're really just testing out these technologies, it is expensive. And there are a lot of financial assistance that is available in the form of different funds, which can help you adopt these technology and test it out. And what is required is for a manufacturer to work with the customer, or that is the brands, and maybe create some sort, co-create this or co-invest here so that you're able to scale up these technologies without creating or passing on the cost to the consumer just yet.
Absolutely. And, I agree with you, Priyanka, here. Maybe I want to add on, maybe Swami, you can also add on here, is, we all think whenever we reduce waste, see the whole sustainability, if you look at from an abstraction, you see that in generalization, we are removing waste and we are doing things which are right for the planet. If I just take the waste element, right, I think we should look at total cost of ownership, right? Not just the cost of doing that, right? Now, therefore, today, lots of technology, be it design, I think Nitin was explaining about, bring innovation in design, you use 3D, etc. And what happens is while maybe that software costs, but just look at the amount of saving that you're going to have by reducing the sample, reducing the lead time. Time is money, which we don't realize in this industry. The amount of wastage and the kind of solutions like what we offer is basically reduce the waste by taking informed decision making. For there is a lot available. Not everything of sustainability actually costs. Look at the overall thing and start taking maybe the first step. The next question I will move on for want of time would be Vishal Behel's question. Happy to hear Nishi. And I'm a big fan of full garment knitting machine, amazing software, flat knitting machine combination. But his question is, how can machine price be more competitive? And if there can be an explainer video of this model versus the traditional garment manufacturer. Nishi-san, what he is asking is, now, I think maybe it's a detailed explanation. Nishi-san has a plan for India. Maybe you want to share about your plan for India?
Yeah. Question. So I said earlier that we are not just a company that sell the machine only. The fashion industry is currently facing a headwind. Now is the time to break away from the trend of mass production and mass disposal that was carried out in the name of cost competition. To do so, machine sales, manufacture, apparel, advertising, distribution, and sales cannot all function independently. I think we would like to work together to create a better world. It is a solution business, including all. So our team is sharing a form where you can send your request to explore opportunity of our production for garment and Apex system. We will set up the meeting with you. So thank you very much today. See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Nishi. And Hema, if you can just share the Google Doc, the Google form to all the audience so that they can reach out to whomever they want to reach out to. And let's go to the next question from Shailendra. What is the panelist's view on what needs to be done to reach out to the most important member of the value chain, the customer? All internal efficacy related actions are only serving finally a linear economy. In other words, maybe how do you get all these sustainability benefits reach the hands of the consumer?
Let me take a shot at this question. So I think that there is already growing awareness within the consumer on the need for sustainability. I think that all the studies that have happened in the last 2, 3, or 5 years, based on the different generations of consumers that are existing in the market, there is a growing demand for product that has a purpose, so to say. So, and that could either be from a perspective of ensuring that there is care taken in the creation of the product and that it doesn't cause destruction to the ecology, or it is helping and providing sustenance to a certain community, country, etc. So I think from the perspective of it reaching, or the concept of sustainability going to the grassroots level, there is. It is also true that a lot of initiatives that are happening at the manufacturing level, the consumer doesn't get to know about. But at the end of the day, I think that if you want to educate the consumer about sustainability, I think the greater focus needs to be on consumption rather than manufacturing. If consumers are able to focus more on lowering consumption, because our entire economy or the entire business model works around prescription or supply, it's more supply driven rather than demand driven. And I think that shift is taking place, particularly post-COVID, where brands are having to react a lot more to demands that the consumer is making. So I think, I don't know if I've answered the question in full.
So two interesting things that are happening from my, just something that I observed that I'd like to share very quickly. One is there's some very interesting technologies that are coming, which are helping trace the entire supply chain. And the goal of these technologies, whether it's using higher like artificial intelligence or blockchain platforms, the goal is really at the consumer level. They should be able to know what the journey of this entire outfit is that they're buying, which is know where, if it's cotton, then which farm it's coming from, what were the labor conditions, what is the manufacturing areas. So tracking or tracing entire things. So creating maximum transparency for a consumer so that based on that, they can also make a decision if this is a product they want to buy. it's all still in pilot stage, and hopefully we are seeing a lot of brands now getting excited, brands and manufacturers, and trying to adopt these technologies and making it large scale or widespread. And on the other end, from a very COVID perspective, a lot of the more pioneer brands, and this is particularly from a brand's point of view, are using sustainability and awareness around sustainability as a way of bouncing back for the consumers, or making it as their new value proposition to actually get consumer interest back in them. And that's another very interesting way to say, because this question particularly says, what are the current mediums that consumers have been using? Almost all of the marketing material so far has been around fast fashion and consumption. Now that narrative we are starting to see changing a bit. I'm not saying it's 100% change now, but we are seeing a change.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. And we have actually left with 2 minutes. Just a request, are the panelists okay with a 5 minutes extension just to answer 2-3 more questions? Are you fine with that? Huh?
Sure,
You're
sure.
good. And quickly on the audience, would you like to stay back for 5 more minutes to get some of the questions answered? If yes, quickly chat yes on the chat box. Yeah, let's move on. There are 2 questions. I'm clubbing them, one from Dheeraj and one from Sangeeta around fast fashion. First question is, can fast fashion exist without impacting much of sustainability? The second question is, how is fast fashion sustainable if you offer more than required products in the market? But the question therefore is, one is against the fast fashion. The other person is saying, can I exist in fast fashion but be sustainable? Whoever wants to go.
Sure. I think that one of the pilot projects that I'm working on at Arvind is, how do we ensure that from a value chain perspective, we can still be fast, but ensure that we're doing it in moderation. I think the focus of fast fashion has always been just in time, but I think it is important to move from just in time to just enough. And fast fashion in a way can exist if we use the kind of technologies that are available today, technologies like Stylumia, technologies like Browseware or Clo, where we're designing in 3D, you're reducing the amount of wastage in the entire cycle. I think of course there is fixation on the amount of wastage that is at retail stage. There isn't enough focus on the amount of wastage that happens in the entire product life cycle. And if you're able to reduce the wastage at product life cycle stage, by at least 50 to 60%, you'll see a huge impact in our sustainability footprint and our carbon footprint when we get to the end product stage. The second part of it is also the importance of making the consumer realize what are the effects of their consumption and how that consumption is leading to large-scale destruction. And the more companies come on board with cradle to cradle, or looking at the circular economy, as Priyanka was saying, that as technologies become more mainstay and there is economies of scale, you will see companies being able to react much closer to the season and just enough. They won't need to produce more to be able to sell a certain amount, because right now the ROS is built on, if I'm ordering 100 pieces, I'll be able to sell 60 at full price and 10 at discount, and I'll be left with 20% or 20 garments that are stock, but I still need to keep at least 100. I think every brand is going through a reinvention of that model right now, and you will see in the coming times how fast fashion and sustainability will work hand in hand.
All right, thanks, Nitin. And the next question is on why resale and rental, which are sustainability friendly, are not accepted on a large scale. Are the panelists seeing a trend against this?
I'm happy to answer that. So this is interesting because kind of in continuation to the point Nitin was making earlier, that circular business models are another way where fast fashion can exist along with sustainability. And circular business models are essentially rentals, rework, resale models. And I'm not sure where that information is coming from, because we are actually seeing an upward trend all across the world for these models. In fact, the more interesting things is when we talk about rethinking the business models of, let's say, retailers, particularly brands, and I'm sure Swaminathan can also back me up on this. Brands are at this point of time looking at how they can incorporate models like rentals and retail, rental and resale within their own selling business models. So look at a brand like Patagonia, which has been they've been one of the best brands in sportswear or outdoor wear for a really long time. But 3 years back, they started something called Worn Wear, wherein they are bringing their own clothes back, reworking them a bit and selling them further. So technically, almost all of the brands are now looking at incorporating our product or mini business, and our new business shrinks or becomes a part of that. So I think that there is definitely an uptick of retail and rental. Even in India, where we technically come from a background where resale, or not secondhand, but like hand-me-downs were a trend, we're now seeing an uptick of the whole resale model as well, wherein there is a lot more challenging for Indians, because I think the hygiene and all the other issues are much bigger. But there are newer companies that are popping up who are actually solving those challenges, as people are becoming more and more open. So it looks like in the next 10 years, circular business models will have a larger share in the market.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. I think that answers that question. And there are a lot more questions from the audience. I just want to give confidence to everybody that each one of these questions will be answered. We will route it to the right panelist and you will get a feedback on that. And we need to close because we have exceeded by 5 minutes. I just want to sum up before that, thank all the panelists for taking your time out and sharing your invaluable perspectives to the audience. And thanks, audience, for your questions. And these questions make up these webinars, right? And we'll ensure all those questions are answered. I just want to, give maybe a closing remark that, while initially some of the sustainability initiatives, they do cost and many of them don't. So please do not look at them with that eye saying that it's going to be expensive. Second, like one of our panelists said, sustainability is for survival. It's like digital transformation. Now, many a times you don't see the fire. We are telling you it's a fire which is going to come. Just get in right now, even if you have not made a start, a great start. But this is a request for all the administrators and governments. But the point is that can't we encourage, this is a question I'm leaving everybody with, can't we encourage sustainable products by disincentivizing non-sustainable products? Because then what happens, that there is also a benefit of being sustainable from an economic perspective. I think like it has happened in automobile, that old cars with poor emission systems are discouraged. So what are we going to do about it? How can fashion industry come together globally and together from administration, government, everybody, and to encourage people to take this path, right? And with that closing note, I would like to thank everyone and have a wonderful time ahead and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.